Hello everybody, it's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of Bachelor Nation News. In this video, we have the ongoing Clayton Echard paternity scandal, the biggest story that's really ever reached Bachelor Nation. It is a story that involves receipt and deceit. But by who? That's the question. There's an ultrasound that, as you can see from my title here, is 100% fake. Now, it's a real ultrasound, but it's been doctored to make it look like the lady that is accusing Clayton of being the father of her unborn twins. It's made to look like it's her ultrasound. So the question we're going to be asking in this video, and maybe we'll be proving, you guys can leave a comment and let me know what you think, is whether or not she is responsible for this fraudulent ultrasound, or is someone framing her or setting her up? We're going to get to the bottom of it. Look, normally I'm a commentator, content creator, comedian. I just look at the news that's out there and I comment on it. But what has been interesting with this case is that due to threat of legal action, nobody's talking about it. Now, don't get me wrong. Reality Steve is, a few other people, Nick Viall has started to talk about it, but nobody has been talking about it. They've run with a story. The Bachelor subreddit has shut down conversation about this topic after initial documents basically exposed Clayton as being a scumbag. Now, knowing what we know now, a lot of people don't believe that, but for those that only believe the initial story or headlines, they believe that Clayton caused this mess. And what I'm going to argue is that he's trying to vindicate himself in different ways. So I will share what he said yesterday. And hang tight, folks. What I'm going to share with you guys is a 100% evidence that this sonogram is doctored in multiple different ways. And then I'm going to tie this doctored sonogram back to the lady, the unnamed anonymous woman, who is claiming that Clayton is the father of her unborn twins. If I can prove, which I plan on doing, that this sonogram is 100% fake, and if I can prove that she knew that when she shared it, does that mean she's not pregnant? No. That doesn't mean that. She could still be pregnant with his unborn twins. And I had someone reach out to me or post on one of the threads and say, oh, I can't believe he's still milking this story. I can't believe he still believes her. It's not about whether I believe her or not. It's about be as judicial and fair as possible, so that if this was in the court of law, a juror could, without a reasonable doubt, agree that this is fraudulent and fake, but it doesn't prove that she's not pregnant. Follow me on Instagram at DNeals. I'll be live right after this at the 10 a.m. hour on the West Coast on Patreon, patreon.com/Dave Neal. If you want to see how I got to all of this evidence, it's a 90-minute video that I made yesterday with the most watched people we've ever had on our Patreon. You can go check that out. That's not the type of video I normally make public because it involves a lot of research, but painstakingly, I went through and made sure to redact all of her information. I made sure to cross my T's and dot my I's. I've spoken with a very generous lawyer this morning who has been following this case with me. She is a lawyer that is high-powered with regards to defamation cases, and she believes that I am fully in the clear to talk about it the way that I am. If I am a little bit slower than normal, that is because my ass is being covered by myself and by those that are helping protect the assets known as the Bachelor Recap Empire. So this came out. No more drama. Clayton Echard gets negative DNA test results following woman claiming he was a father for twins. Great. But people still commented under this, blaming him. So much so that we saw on Nick Viall's podcast that Gabby Winnie said, I would have done it differently. And Natalie Joy said, isn't he so stupid? The man who was allegedly gaslighted into believing he's the father. So someone responded, it's insane how one-sided people can be. If Clayton was a woman, everyone would be cheering this response, but because he's a man, how dare he? People cannot handle a male victim at the hands of a female. Now, this might be true or not, and it's an interesting look into the psychology of Clayton as a very strong, tall, big man. How could he have been duped, deceived in any certain way? And again, it doesn't mean she's not pregnant. It doesn't mean he's not the father. But from all that we've seen from what he has shared, it's looking in the direction like he's innocent here. So I'm going to share what he said yesterday.
Let me make this short and simple. Update time. This individual that was supposed to submit a sample, their second sample, after the first sample came out and said little to no fetal DNA, They were supposed to submit a second sample yesterday. It was confirmed they never showed up and submitted a sample.
That person, Jane Doe, did not submit the second sample of information that will then prove whether or not he is the father, to a 99% degree, or whether or not there was no fetal DNA. The first sample showed no fetal DNA. Could have been in a missed sample. Could maybe they have gotten the wrong. I don't know. I'm not a medical expert. She has said, and to be fair, because people the one thing I think people have said about our channel is that we're trying our best to be fair. To be fair, I received an email from Jane Doe that said she did not get her second sample, but she's planning on doing it this coming Monday. She was sick. She had to meet with a different doctor. She's planning to do that this coming Monday. I'm willing to hold off to wait for the results of that second sample to further discuss it. But in the meantime, let's finish what Clayton had to say.
So I wanted to put that out there so everyone's aware. It never showed up. Beyond that, I found out this morning, this individual sent me an email last week and showed me the ultrasound video. I already had my suspicions because, again, I already knew that this was not real. And this morning I found the YouTube video that this woman ripped the video from. So she took the ultrasound from a YouTube clip from 6 years ago. That is also confirmed. I put them side by side. They are the exact same video. This is the craziest thing I've ever been a part of. I just ask that people cover the truth at this point. I've lost out. I just got a call this morning. I lost out on another speaking engagement. I've lost out on tens of thousands of dollars. So hopefully the truth will now get out and save me.
You can hear from Clayton's voice, from the timbre in his voice, that he is done playing games. My guess would be that he's mounting a large lawsuit because he is showing that he's proving that he is not only being talked about in a way that's not right, but he's proving, at least he's acquiring the evidence that he is losing money and losing livelihood based on what he believes to be a lie. So he claims that this sonogram right here, twin boy gender at 13 weeks, he claims that this information was taken from her. Now look, two different sonograms side by side. Who are we to say which is which? So that one, baby B, baby A, as shown here, is 3 minutes long. The sonogram we have from Jane Doe right here is 38 seconds long. What is problematic about this sonogram, and again, we're going to show that she denies that this is from her, and she believes that this sonogram was created by one of her exes who is vindictive and out to get her. I'm going to show you the paper trail that proves probably that she is not telling the truth there. So this is her sonogram. We see baby B, baby A, and you go, well, it's not exactly the same. I mean, it's got a completely different header. I've taken out her name here, but I will tell you this. On the unredacted version of her name, she uses her first name and then her last name. And anybody who works in the medical field has informed me that it is standard to use last name then first name. That alone would probably prove that this video is doctored. But then over here, we look at this time code. And also, it's almost too white. Everything else is kind of like, it's like a very like white header. But, that's something I can't prove. But if we look over here on the top right, we see that the time code is not moving. And I've had people go, well, Dave, maybe they took the still of the time code and then the video, and you go, okay, well, it's getting a little wild out here. So what I'm going to share with you right now are both sonograms side by side. And then I'm going to share with you afterwards Jane Doe's denial that she created this sonogram. And then after that, I'm going to show you the evidence that I've seen, because we're just looking for the facts here, that ties this sonogram, this doctored fake sonogram, to her. Because it's not just important to show that the sonogram is doctored, fake, fraudulent, and all these things. It's important to show that she shared that with others in the belief that it was hers. So now what we're going to do is go to Patreon mode. This is the mode. Let me switch my camera here. This is the mode that I go to when I share widescreen coverage of what we're talking about. And I'm going to share with you full screen coverage right now of my editing software, Adobe Premiere Pro. This editing software, I'm able to show the left side, which is the 6-year-old ultrasound, the right side, which is Jane Doe's ultrasound. And what I want you to be looking for right here is the color-coded differences between what is Jane Doe speaking. She's right here in blue on the bottom here, if you can see this. I'm trying to pull it up. She's right here, Jane Doe. But right down here is blue, and that is the original ultrasound. So blue, which is highlighted, is the one on the left. Jane Doe is the one on the right here. So you're going to see the difference. Why do I show you the difference? Well, the original, being 3 minutes long, plays out. Hers is cut up. So what I did is I cut up her ultrasound. And again, this might be very specific but I think a lot of people will respect this right now. I cut up her ultrasound. We did this back in the day when we covered Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard, because during the Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard trial, there was a lot of manipulation of evidence. I got a lot of hate because I covered this. But what happened was Amber Heard was interviewed by NBC. They took interviews that they did with Amber Heard. They edited it in a certain way so that it would play to one audience on their morning TV. And then they edited it in another way so it would play differently in the evening. And people, I had Real Housewives of New York DMing me. Everyone wanted to get on that story because people were saying, well, they always edit things. They didn't edit it for time. They edited it for content. National Broadcasting Company did this. It is deceitful. And it is why people don't believe the news when things are edited and manipulated that way. So I already knew I could do this. And I said, well, what if I apply that sort of logic that I did with an interview, which was way more complicated, to something very simple like this? Now, I want you to know, I added the music. Okay, this is music that I added. What you're seeing here is the start of the video on the left that says twin gender seen at 13 weeks. That's the left. And that's the right. So what I did right here in this moment is I synced them up perfectly. And you might say, how could you sync them up perfectly? I am going to overlap them on top of each other so you see that it is one cohesive heartbeat. This might sound redundant, folks, but I don't want there to be a shadow of a doubt that I didn't do my research here. So here they are. And this says sync begins. Let's put it to fit it right here. So this is where the sync begins. I will label where the sync ends. We're watching it. It ends right now. Oh, excuse me. You see the placenta on both sides hits at the same exact second, and that's where the sync begins, and the sync ends right here. Now, the video on the left shows that baby B is there and points out, and now it syncs again. So she edited out this part right here. She edited out, I don't know why, but she edited out baby B. Maybe because there's the little mouse code there. Maybe she didn't want that involved. And again, I say she. It could have been someone else. Again, it might not be Jane Doe. We're going to get into that. So the sync ends. The sync comes back. Baby A on both sides perfectly. And now it's synced. And now baby B comes back. I got this down to the frame that has it exactly the same. And I'm showing you the full video. Then the sync ends. We see the left. Now the sync comes back one more time. So what she did here is she edited out the part where baby B is a boy. She claims that she's got a boy and a girl. And this 6-year-old ultrasound is 2 boys. So baby B is a boy. She got rid of that. And then the sync comes back again one final time right there. Very clearly see it. No time code moving. Sync again. Sync ends on her end. And then the video on the left goes on into more detail. Baby A, baby B, sitting on A. Baby B is a boy. So this is somebody's children. Most likely there are 6-year-olds walking around and we're looking at them right now. That's them. Now, what I'm going to do at the end of this video, stick around. I want to get to this part in a second, but I'm going to give you the final evidence that shows right here. I overlay the right video. I change it to 50% opacity, which means I make it transparent so that you can see that they line up directly on top of each other. I will show that to you at the end of this video. I'm just going to save that because I want to get to this next part real quick where we prove that Jane Doe is tied to this video. So that's where we were at. That's the full video there. Let's go back to our normal text here. This is the email I got. I hate to throw the threat of lawsuit in again, but I saw on Reddit that you are looking for an expert to review my sonogram. It's highly illegal, a HIPAA violation for you to be wanting to share anything related to my health without my permission, which again, that's not entirely true. Actually, it's not really true at all. That's for medical professionals not to share, let alone trying to share it with strangers on the internet. She says, I suggest that you delete that post and any evidence you are trying to gather. So she's suggesting that I stop trying to gather evidence. Again, I don't consider myself an investigative journalist, but in this instance, we are. In this story, we are an investigative journalist group. I've got my folks over on Reddit, the Goose Gang. Thank you so much for all of the evidence you've helped me with. They don't want to be public. They're completely anonymous. People thought I haven't wanted to share and credit them. Nobody wants to get a lawsuit. I understand that. So she says, you do not have my permission to be sharing phone calls, medical records, etc. with your public audience. I have shared them with you simply to keep you, simply so you keep them in mind with your audience, not so you can analyze them. Which, by the way, who shares evidence that they don't want analyzed or held up to scrutiny? We shared her evidence in good faith. Because as you might remember, last week while I was in the Maldives on vacation, she said, you're only sharing Clayton's side of the story. You're not sharing my side of the story. And I said, I'll share your side of the story. People are telling me that she's playing me like a fiddle. I'll share your side of the story. We will take your evidence in the court of public opinion here and get it somewhere where that if you further delete it or move it, we'll have the timestamps and like I can take my videos down, but they still exist privately for me. So even for the videos of hers that I've taken down, it is evidence that exists out there. So I responded to her and I said, hey, Jane, please let me know. I just want to make sure someone isn't floating around doctored or false ultrasound sonograms of yours. Is this the sonogram you've referenced of yours that you don't want shared? Cheers, Dave. And then I didn't underline this. I'm underlining this for you to show the timestamps. I shared the sonogram. I said, is this yours? She says, no, that's not mine. She then further went on to email me, which I'm not going to share with you, and say, was this the doing of the guy who, she said his name, we'll call him Gary. That's not his name, but she said, was this the doing of Gary? He's trying to make fake doctorate evidence so I'm not believable, this and that. And I said, no, I don't know. I said, I don't know who's the doing this. This was being passed around. I don't know who this is from. Well, we found out. We found out who the initial ultrasound is from, and I'm going to share that with you. And again, I want to remind people, I'm not trying to give away all my cards here. But I've been making disclaimers. I've been sharing my opinions. I've been leaving out her name. And I don't believe I've had to do that when sharing the truth. Now, she could claim that this is an invasion of her privacy. But right here, she claims it's not hers. So I can't be violating any sort of HIPAA rules, which again, I'm not. But I can't be doing that if it's not her document or not her ultrasound. What I can be doing is trying to find out whose it is. So what I did was I reached out to people that she sent it to. This is an email proving the sonogram was sent from Jane Doe. I deleted all of her information here, but what we see is the sonogram 9-5-23. That is the same sonogram from right here. I will show that evidence to prove that. And you might say, well, Dave, anyone can label something sonogram 9-5-23. When I clicked on it, it popped up the same sonogram. So you have to trust me on that. I'm not going to share all of that because a lot of that's not redacted. You just have to trust me. If I was ever sent to court to show all of this, I've got clear paper trails. It is as bulletproof as can come. What we have here is, so you might say, well, just because she sent this to people to prove to them privately, and I want to let you know something. She didn't send this ultrasound necessarily to me. She didn't send it to me because she knows I've been sharing these things publicly. She sent it to people that might talk about it, but not show the proof, which to me shows that she wants people to remain quiet, but doesn't want her evidence publicly analyzed. That, my friends, is a red flag. You can't have it both ways. But you might say, Dave, this is an invasion of privacy if she didn't send the email to you. Here's what she has. She's got a Dropbox that she's created that shows all of the evidence. I don't want to scroll through it because I don't want to give her information away. She's got voicemails, Clayton defaming her, according to her. Clayton spreading lies. She's got the ultrasound right there. This is on her Dropbox. And you might say, Dave, just because it's on her Dropbox doesn't make it public. I totally understand. When you click on it, you can see right here, it is a QuickTime movie from her Dropbox. Well, this information from her Dropbox, she shared. She shared the link of this Dropbox to everybody on Reddit. And you might say, well, that might not be her who posted on Reddit. It goes down the hole and down the hole and down the hole. How far down do we have to go? It is her. She has deleted her account. She has responded as herself, which we have screen grabs and evidence that it is her. She is the woman who shared this right here, a URL link to her Dropbox in Reddit. And Reddit's not a private community, at least this Reddit isn't. You don't need a username to go see this. Anybody on the internet could go to her Dropbox and see that she created or that she had this fraudulent sonogram. Could she claim, I thought that was mine, I didn't look too closely, it was sent to me by an ex? I mean, that would be a pretty lousy and faulty claim to make. So when we covered this case, and we've got videos we've taken down because she claimed that the evidence we shared was sealed. She didn't claim it wasn't true. She claimed it was sealed. We showed court documents that showed fraud and deceit that were the allegations being made by the, petitioner in those court documents. That in previous cases, this wasn't Clayton's, but in previous cases, they proved that the ultrasound showed could be reversed image searched to a blog from like 2015. Completely separate case. So when Clayton says he's got evidence that this case is a copycat case and she's done it in the past and he's innocent, when we actually look at the evidence that has come out publicly, it shows that in this case, Clayton's not lying. Like I said, could it be proven that he's still pregnant with her? That's a different conversation. The conversation about whether or not he had sex with her is truly hearsay. It's something he has said, but we don't have definitive proof and all of that. I think Clayton would be okay with that because what we do have is proof that this sonogram is fraudulent. And we also have proof that she shared it. We don't have proof that she knew it was fraudulent, but one can imagine you would know if this was your ultrasound or not. What I'm going to share with you right now is the final nail in the coffin that we have. And I have to reiterate, people have gotten upset at the way Clayton has handled it, namely Gabby, Wendy, some folks on the Vile Files podcast, and tons of people online. Why is he dancing on the grave of this story? Shouldn't he be taking it more seriously? That's what Gabby said. And again, I give Gabby grace that she just doesn't know the full extent of the story. But what we need to look at is a victim, at least of this fraudulent ultrasound, maybe more. You might say, Dave, it's so clear that it's more than this. I understand that, but legally, as I protect myself, I can't always claim that. So I want you guys to know, I'm emphasizing that the sonogram isn't hers. It doesn't prove she's not pregnant. I'm very comfortable with how I acquired all of this information, as I've provided a paper trail, that it is public information that she put out there. I do believe this is an interest to the public because Clayton is a public figure. I think we could also make an argument that she is also a public figure, which I don't really want to make right now, but I think we could. And I don't believe this is an invasion of her privacy to share this, because not only is this not her sonogram, but she is the one who shared it as hers. Have a watch as I layer over. I move this sonogram from 100% opacity, which means a solid image, to 50% so you can see how they blend together, and watch at the same exact moment as the letters pop up. And you can tell right then and there that not only is it the same ultrasound, she only went so far as to edit it a few times. She didn't do anything to distort this ultrasound, which would have made it a little bit more difficult to prove it is a fraud. Have a watch. There it is. It's moving over right there.
You are not the father.
Ladies and gentlemen, there it is, folks. Dance like nobody's watching. Clayton Echard is not the father, according to the sonogram we just saw. The rest is yet to be discovered. We will be here to cover that as that information comes in. I will be live right after you watch this on Patreon to further discuss. Patreon.com/Dave Neal. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button as we continue to cover this story and share whatever information comes out. We'll be back right after this.